Let's give a big round of applause for the chair crew. This guy, these guys. We love the chair setup crew. I mean, look at them. I can't do this. This is crazy. You're much more coordinated than I am. Wow, amazing. OK, so while they complete this, quick reminder, invest in mining with our general sponsor, UMiners. You guys are amazing. Passive income from cryptocurrency mining is easier than it seems. Please see UMiners at booth A1. We good? We happy? My man. OK, so building and scaling successful GameFi projects represents a unique challenge, from tokenomics to user engagement. This panel will hear from industry leaders who have built top GameFi platforms and explore their strategies for success. So I invite onto the stage Senior VP at Sandbox, or The Sandbox, Bertrand Levy. Let's applaud. There you go. I love it. I love you. I love you. You guys are my caffeine at this point. OK, CEO of FSL, Stepan Go, Shetty Manghani. Big round of applause. Give me some emotional caffeine. Thank you. Co-founder of Aether from Dan Wang. Co-founder of Revolving Games, Amar Zayim. Partner at Ton Ventures, Enel Cardin. And I'll be your moderator. Yay, Gordon. Come on, team. Come join me. First question, isn't there a famous French philosopher named Bertrand Levy? I know there's Bertrand Russell.
It's Bernard-Henri Levy, but kind of the same. Yes, Levy, yes.
OK, I was like, wow, I felt like I was back in philosophy school.
Actually, I did live close by him, so sometimes I receive some mails from that addressed to him, yes.
Got it. OK, fantastic. So, all right, I have to admit, I don't know that much about GameFi, so I'm eager to learn from the experts. This is going to be very interesting for me, and I think for the audience as a whole. So I'm going to start with the first question, and maybe we'll just kind of pass it down the row here. So what are the critical factors in designing sustainable tokenomics for GameFi platforms? How do you balance rewards with long-term ecosystem health? And you know what, I'll even spin that a little bit, which is, do you really need to put the same focus on tokenomics in GameFi that you do, say, with traditional blockchain projects? Or is it its own animal, or do those fundamentals still apply?
No, for me, it still applies. Yes. And you need to have that token economics, into that space, because this helps a lot about creating what we want to achieve, at least at the Sandbox. So I don't know if everybody knows the Sandbox. We are a virtual world with over 166,000 different lands that combined together are creating the Sandbox virtual world. And we have over 400 B2B partners, very diverse. And so they are 100% for us. The tokenomics is part of our ecosystem.
So FSL.
So I always say, talk to me like I'm 5 years old. How do tokenomics apply to GameFi? What are the unique challenges?
Yes.
What's the same and what's different?
And I want to make it more relatable, because I know there are a few Stepners in the crowd as well. So firstly, shout out to them. At FSL, which is our company, we have now done over 4 games. So we've done Step In Go, Morchi, and Gas Hero, and all of them have been sort of successful in their own right. I can talk to as to what worked for us, and I would put it in 3 buckets as far as the tokenomics go. So the first one is separate the rewards and utility, because by nature, anything speculative will become financial. Anything financial will become inflationary. Anything inflationary is just a matter of time. For good countries, it takes decades or more than decades. For bad governance, it takes probably a few years. We have a few examples in front of us. And for games, it could take months or years, right? So the best way to do...
Let me ask you, is inflation the killer of game economics?
Inflation is the killer of any economics. So whether it's Jeremy Powell or us, we have to find a way around it. We have to, once we have created an economy, we have to make sure that it works. So the first method, like I said, I was going to say, is making sure that the the gameplay rewards or on a different token than the long-term utility token. So for us, GMTs are long-term utility token, governance token, and the gameplay token, for example, could be GGT. Second, for the gameplay token, we have to create a balance between sinks and faucets, what we call. So basically making sure there's a balance of gameplay tokens being generated and them being used. And then the third, and the most important, is the game part of GameFi. Often we keep focused on the Fi part. So how do we generate enough traction and engagement with the games? So we keep in...
I guess that's kind of what I was getting at. Maybe I want to throw it to the whole audience. I mean, there's the game, the fun in game. Ideally, games should be fun. I mean, are you putting the kind of the cart before the horse when you're so focused on tokenomics? Maybe it's a little bit of a philosophical question. Let me keep moving down. So Dan, give us your thoughts, if you got all that.
Sure. I think maybe just to add on to what you were saying, look, at the very core of things, games is like the base factor. Clever tokenomics, sustainable tokenomics, can be multiplicative, right? Like it can enhance the experience of a game. And I mean, you can look at as far back as like old GameFi as like EVE Online, World of Warcraft. There are financial ecosystems built around this. You can call that tokenomics, just wasn't traded on chain, but it was tokenomics, right? And there was a healthy ecosystem, but like she mentioned, you always saw crazy inflation happen in these. But it was controlled because there was a balance for the demand for the game because it was fun at its core. Now I think in general, tokenomics should be viewed as a tool to increase specific retention or engagement, LTV of a user, right? Like the value that you can drive back to a user because they can engage in multiple facets of the game. I think that's what clever tokenomics can do to make a game more sustainable.
It's interesting you mentioned this. I think I remember seeing videos on YouTube about EVE economics, and I like, you must be kidding me. Like there's
yeah, I mean, like the greatest ones you always hear like, oh, this battle, there was like $500,000 lost. And you're like, how do you lose $500,000 in a game? Well, that's $500,000 of thousands, if not maybe 1 million hours of play time that people put into a game, that they pay into the game to be able to participate, that is destroyed permanently through some game mechanics.
Amar, I saw you smile appreciatively when we were talking about inflation in this area. So maybe give us your overall thoughts.
The reason why I was smiling was like there's inflation in free-to-play as well. So balancing economy outside just tokenomics is also very complex, especially for the larger games. But I believe tokenomics is, the way we see it, as a tool for user acquisition, building IP, which is part of the incentives. At the same time, utility has to be very different. One of the ways we want to do it is build utility first, and on the back end, incentivize people. So the game has to be primarily fun for people to engage, bring in a bigger audience, and through NFTs, you can gate on the back end to essentially reward users who are more incentivized through the blockchain. So that's how we're thinking about things.
Again, this isn't my world, but I'm just maybe seeing a structural issue, which is, could it be that early entrants into the game get sort of a head start that's almost insurmountable, so you sort of need to inflate a bit so that late joiners can plausibly survive? Is that a thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. So how do you handle that? How do you not, pardon my French, screw over the early adopters by rewarding the new people out of sync?
I think that's why I was saying the early adopters are starting the party, so for them, the incentives are really important. For the late ones, it's all around fun-driven rather than just like using the economy to essentially benefit themselves. That's really what we're trying to define in gaming.
Interesting. Please.
Yeah, I just actually wanted to agree with a couple statements which you already said here, that games actually had like economics for like a long time, long period. There are soft currencies for, I don't know, almost every single game that you can play actually right now. But the whole Web3 and GameFi thing is about making this economy open for anyone. And this is, to be honest, from my perspective as like GameFi lead at Ton Foundation, as a person who actually developed with my own game studio games with tokens, this experiment is still like, we haven't seen like good examples of these experiments yet, to be honest. All of these, I just want to say a couple controversial things here, that yes, it's a good acquisition channel, but every game is going to have like lifetime, right? This is not an infinite game. And
I'm still playing Halo and Grand Theft Auto, so I don't know.
You cannot play a game forever. I mean, every game will die at some point. Tokens will die at some point as well. So in my opinion, this is really important to understand that this is like GameFi and Tokenomics, they're good acquisition channels, but every single game token will die at some point. Period. Nothing else. It means that some investors in these tokens who actually didn't earn it in the game but bought this token will actually lose money. That's it. And what I want to say here is tokenomics, again, this is about like acquiring users, but this is not about making it long-term for, I don't know, tens of years. How many games live for tens of years? Couple.
Okay, so you're, maybe unlike Ethereum or unlike Bitcoin, you're not aspiring to build this eternal engine that will remain forever in balance.
This is impossible, because this is like, games are about fun, attention, etc. This is impossible to keep being entertained for, I don't know, tens of years.
But maybe it's a little bit different than those prior examples, because I mean, these tokens do have external value, I believe, or are meant to. And it's not quite as casual as, oh, we're playing a game, but eventually that game's can be done.
Agree, but
and there is also play to earn. I mean, you're kind of in the gray zone a little bit.
But actually, what's the value of a game token?
Well, I don't know. What's the value of the US
The value
dollar?
of a game token is actually how many people play this game.
I can say the exact same thing for the US dollar, right? How many people are playing the US dollar
How many people believe in something, yeah.
So, look, I'm going to be a lawyer. You're slightly dodging a little bit. Okay, we're not talking about chess. Okay, people are putting economic inputs into these games. And they are, at least with play to earn, getting economic outputs out of these games. Do you have some kind of obligation to keep it going for a while? This isn't your average panel. We're just going to dig.
Yeah, we can discuss it later.
Okay, good dodge. So fine, but I'll switch the question for a second. So explain to me, I mean, I'm happy to have a partner from Ton Ventures here. What is your interest? What is the Ventures Arm's interest in these games? Maybe you touched on it, but expand a little bit more.
Yeah, we actually believe that we are Ton Ventures, so we are focusing more on Telegram. And as I already said, I'm actually like a former GameFi lead at Ton Foundation, so I've seen all this like growth of games on Telegram. Our take right now is that there are, I mean, again, the value of a token of a game equals to like number of users playing this game. Period. In our opinion, and. We believe that Telegram is one of the best distribution channels. Most of the games are about distribution, like how exactly you're going to distribute your game. So what we believe in is that if you build a game, if you have more or less fine tokenomics and you find good distribution channel, you can be successful. And we're trying to find like just games that we can actually invest that will acquire a lot of users, because again, the value of a token equals to like number of users playing this game. So, and again, we just bet in that this is going to be on Telegram. I mean, Telegram is one of the best acquisition channels for games.
That's really interesting. You're building a customer base for your very core technology through games. That's pretty clever.
Yeah, I mean, we actually there were like a couple fun discussions like year and a half ago at Ton. I just can share it here that one of the best acquisition channels, not to like games, but to other like Web3 products, is games.
I'm gonna have you on my show and find out everything you're trying not to say right now. All right, cool. Amar, talk a little bit about Revolver Games and how you're building these systems and the tokenomics and maybe the challenges in scaling your games.
Absolutely. So we're in a unique position where we haven't scaled any of our games yet. We're still testing them. We're about 150 people globally. I've been in gaming for 15 years. And I've seen games scale, fail, spend 4 years, not do well. What really got us into Web3 was essentially to what you were also saying is a lot of users play games, spend thousands of dollars, but eventually get locked up. If they leave the game, that account is gone. So there's absolutely nothing to show for. So we believe that it's a mix of what you were saying is you can own NFTs in game as like I believe like for instance in one of our games, which is a multiplayer, you can be the king of the galaxy and kind of have an ownership NFT for it and talk about like 10 years from now, even if the game is dead, that as like an art piece, which we see in the future is going to happen. On the tokenomics side, we're building our own blockchain, which is our first utility token.
Your own L1.
Yeah, well, no. We're going to be an L3 first, then roll up. Yeah. It's primarily the reason for that is we want certain controls and we want our own utility token as a gas fee because we're launching 6 games of our own. And 2 of them we've spent about $30 million building over the last 4 years. So we want to retain a lot of the, I'd say, value within the ecosystem. And our community is really, really bullish on that strategy because it does benefit the early joiners for sure.
So how do you build, you've been in this game for a while, how do you build your community with your Web3?
It's a good question. We built it purely based on our game. And one of our games called Skyborn Legacy. We gave free NFTs last year. Everybody grinded for whitelist, got them. It became very vibrant, and then we announced our blockchain and certain incentives around that. And people just like our NFTs got traded for 10,000 ETH, and this is during the bear market.
NFTs.
Yeah, the trade volume.
NFT or the NFTs?
The NFT collection had a trade volume of about 10,000 ETH. And from a free NFT, it went to about 1.4 or 1.5 ETH floor price, and it's been pretty stable. And now people have staked them for claiming certain utilities within the blockchain ecosystem. And the games get live on that.
Interesting. Dan, can you tell us about Aether and your approach to this?
Sure.
Tell us about the company first.
I mean, we're decentralized cloud infrastructure, but really at our core, we're a cloud gaming and cloud rendering network, right? We came out with the vision of trying to overcome hardware barriers. Like, for example, when I was building League of Legends back in the day, one of the biggest pain points was how to get people to update every single patch, right? Massive downloads, and then we'd have to think about bricking old computers so that they couldn't play the newest game anymore because a new champion splash broke things or whatever, right? Like, and hardware
you sound like
barriers.
Microsoft.
Well, the thing was, hardware barriers limit access, limit total addressable market, right? Look at one of the games we're supporting now, PUBG Mobile, right? PUBG Mobile doesn't have much penetration in Southeast Asia or Latin America, even though Brazil is a massive FPS market. Well, why? Because it takes like a gig of RAM and like 8 gigs of storage to download and play the game. But the average smartphone spec in these regions can't play that. So what happens is you have most of these players churn to a competitor like Free Fire or something that Garena put out. And that's 180 million monthly active users, a huge player base that's lost because, well, there's hardware barriers associated with it. Well, what we do is we create a instant play pixel streaming solution as a user acquisition tool, right? So we live in an attention economy. Everyone has like 30 seconds of attention span, and they don't want to sit and download something for a couple hours to play a game. If I can click, I'm instantly in and I'm instantly playing and I get instant gratification out of some gaming experience, the likelihood that I'm going to stay around, my retention rate goes up, my conversion rate goes up, the user acquisition costs go down, and that's what we try and do for our gaming studio partners is we help provide a new UA publishing strategy to bring top quality content to not just who can play it because of the hardware, but who wants to play it. Because it's instantly available with a single click or a scan of a QR code, no download necessary.
And this is pixel streaming, you said?
Cloud gaming, pixel streaming, yeah.
Okay, but since you're mentioning certain geographical areas and the equipment constraints in those areas, I'm going to make a first world, maybe clumsy assumption that maybe the bandwidth isn't so great and maybe the latency is high.
Yeah, so for most regions, 4G data is more than good enough to provide a quality of experience that's a huge improvement over their current hardware limitations, right? You also have to think, generally, if they're limited by hardware because it's a $60 to $80 smartphone, the quality of experience on that phone isn't that great anyways. But the quality of experience that you can stream through 4G is usually already better, right? And you have to think of this as well. Going from no access to some access to content that they could never play before, but they always wanted to play, is going from 0 to maybe not 100, but 70, 80. And that's already a huge improvement.
Okay, so the reference point isn't fully functional
Yeah,
iPhone,
your
iPhone
reference point isn't
27
like
ready games.
Xbox 360 or PS5s. Your reference point is, a $30 to $50 smartphone and that type of experience.
Okay. So what is Step and Go? You mentioned several games, but tell us about the company and then where you are in the Web3 process and the ecosystem and everything else.
Sure. So where we are in Web3 is some first principles thinking, meaning there are over 8 billion people on Earth, and of that, 3.2 billion people play games. That's a significant chunk, meaning 40% of the people. And that makes $200 billion industry, which is the gaming industry, which is more than TV, movies, films, all put together. But when it comes to crypto games, the figures are horrible. 400 million people invest in crypto. Out of that, at best, estimates are 10 million people who play crypto games. So that's not even 2.5%.
Do we count Telegram games as crypto games?
Very
Say
good
again?
question. If I count that, then the figure is only about 2 to 2.5 million people, right? So I'm not factoring in.
That cannot be correct because only Hamster, for example,
So
had
I'm not
280
talking
million.
of Telegram as a distribution channel. So 36 million people of Hamster Combat are mostly factoring just the Telegram interface, right? So where
No,
you give
even
in
like
Telegram
dogs have 6 million on-chain users.
on-chain users playing on-chain assets.
Owning on-chain assets.
Yes, so those
But
are
this
part
is-
of 10 million people.
I'm just saying that maybe there are some play around like numbers here. I just wanted to say probably numbers are quite higher than you just said.
If the figures stack up to 15 million, more than 15 million people, I'm happy to correct myself. But even factoring in 6 million people of those, that's why I said the best estimates only stack up to 15 million people who play crypto games. Yeah, if there were more, we wouldn't be having the discussions on sustainable tokenomics, right? So the part of the fact that we're having this discussion is that we're playing in a highly, highly, highly small industry, and there is a big, big potential to go, right? Whether it's just the gaming industry at large, whether it's entertainment industry, beyond the envelope of Web3. I'm saying we haven't even harnessed the potential of crypto. We're just 2.5% of that. And when we talk of the broader gaming industry, we are not even in decimal points. So the point being, with Step and Go, our efforts have been to scale adoption. And I know how abused the word adoption is, but we frankly try to do this at 3 levels. One is product, one is partnership, and one is community level. So with product, we have efforts like Apple Pay, where we can, taking 30% cut ourselves, but we can hopefully reach masses. They don't have to buy NFTs, do KYC, do all those processes to buy NFTs in crypto. They can simply do the double click of Apple Pay. Second, in terms of partnerships, we've just collaborated with Adidas, with Casio, with G-Shock, with Atletico Madrid, with Steve Aoki to push the envelope on what is possible, both in real world, which is physical assets, as well as big brands. And then third, community level. We have IRL events going across about 20, 25 countries where we actually meet face-to-face with our community members. So while these events are great for us meeting in the industry people, but we also have a side event going on with Step-in users at community. So in Step and Go, for example, we have created a method to sign up with a single login email ID. You don't need to purchase an NFT. You don't need to make a wallet. With simply an email, you can open a house, you can scan the activation code, and just like that, we are onboarding people.
It sounds pleasant. Bertrand, tell us a little bit about the sandbox.
Yes.
And its intersection with these.
Yes, it's kind of funny because we're going the same way. We think that first, the product itself is really what needs to be the best, and at the end of the journey, people want to have fun, so they want to have the best game, and you can rely on and we have also partnerships. So we have, I told you, 400 different partners, very diverse: Gucci, Adidas, Warner, Ubisoft, Steve Aoki, Snoop Dogg, etc., Lacoste, etc. And we're having right now our biggest event of the year. It's called the Season 4. That's going to last until the end of the year, and we're going to have...
This, Blockchain Life, is the biggest event of the year, my friend.
So we'll have the second one.
Okay.
And it's with over 100 experiences that's going to last for until the end of the year, with like every week new IP, new artists, new brands coming to life. So that's one thing. And the other thing, which is really the Web3 spirit, is we have also creators. So we have people, end users, that became creators and become creators every day into our virtual world. And tomorrow you can be a creator and create your own world into our world, because we have created two very intuitive and no-code tools. The first one is called a Vox Edit, which is basically designed for dummies. So I'll give you an example. You take 1 square, 4 round. At the end, you will have a car. You customize it so it won't look like another one. And once you're happy with what you have on the screen, you just have a button create. You push it, you will automatically create an asset that is an NFT. And then you can say, as an end user, becoming a creator, you can say, I just create a nice car. I want to create, let's say, 100 copies of those and sell each one for like $50. And then you can be part of this ecosystem because you are going to earn money out of your creation. That's one tool. The second tool is called a game maker. So let's say you create a house, trees, road. On that Vox Edit, the first tool, and then you just have to drag and drop them, and it will automatically create a 3D world with no code.
Interesting. So let me throw a kind of curveball at the group. Does a volatile token make sense in these games? Does something that goes up and down relative to other assets, does it disrupt it, or do you sort of need like a stable coin within the ecosystem for it to work? And have at it, if anyone has an opinion. Sure.
I don't think every game needs a token. You can have like even your gas token to be to acquire certain assets in the game, right? And that's converted into a stable coin into the game in some ways. But the reality is having a token for every game just doesn't make sense. So to your point, it's actually,
you know, I'll stack the question even more based on what you just said. You know, do games need their own token, which is what you're addressing? And then the follow-up question would be, if it needs a token, is there a point in having the price fluctuate or be volatile, or does it inherently kind of require an internal stable coin, given that, you know, you want to have some predictability within the system?
In my opinion, it depends on the game. If the game is purely incentive-driven, which we call play to earn, we aren't dabbling in that right now, but we see the reason for it to have the dynamic pricing based on different aspects. But if that's not the case, then I think having a stable token makes more sense. And it doesn't necessarily need to be on the blockchain either.
And then how would you achieve that within a game economy, other than just making it so?
I mean, we're figuring things out. I don't have the perfect answer for that, but you can use stable coins otherwise as well. So
sure.
I really push towards not every game having one. You can have an ecosystem fund if you really need to have token. A lot of the products that have been successful in the blockchain world didn't have a token.
And I feel like you have a comment.
I just wanted to add that sometimes actually the price fluctuations, they actually can give more, they can make the game more interesting. They can actually make, give more strategies to players. So sometimes it makes your game itself
I agree.
More interesting. So not always, but in some cases it actually makes sense to have these volatile assets and not only stable coins, in my opinion. Also, I just want to say again, like going to, I don't know, World of Warcraft, where people were mining golds in the game, etc. They actually had price, like market for it as well, and they had a price, and the price was fluctuating as well, and that was fine. There were a lot of people building businesses and getting fun because of that. So this is just a proof that, in my opinion, in many cases, it makes the game itself more fun.
Interesting. We're on the last 30 seconds, so flash round. 2025, what's coming? 15 seconds.
A lot of things for us. The sandbox is improving like every day, so we're having like other mechanism coming, gameplay, a lot of new features.
15 seconds. 2025, what's coming?
Biggest brands entering digital assets, new gameplays completely revolutionizing, new technical breakthroughs in scaling and adopting.
Yeah.
The vast majority of game experiences on the cloud, on the edge, with live real-time engagement with users anywhere in the world.
And pixel streaming, yay.
6 games, launching our chain, launching our decentralized node network.
Fantastic. 15 seconds.
New social games on Telegram and new like genres of Web3 games.
Amazing. Big round of applause, please, for our panel. Very interesting discussion. Thank you so much. Well done.